The United Football League, a league of opportunity some claim, spring football at its finest others, a superior league. Here we enter week 7, and I, the documentarian Jim, have a few questions, and hopefully those around the league have some answers. This is the UFL Week 7 preview.
It's all about me. It's the UFL show with UFL Jim, your one-stop shop for all things United Football League. We have a sexual
Cheers to you,
tension. We have
Memphis
the
Showboats.
heat. We have the power. We have the news. It's all here on the UFL show with UFL Jim.
I decided to take a stroll and ask one of the league's most prominent figures, UFL Jim, exactly what he had in his thoughts for week 7 of the UFL. Through my discussions with UFL Jim, there were many things that I found out about week 7 of the UFL. Number one being, it's a very exciting week for the playoff picture. The Houston Roughnecks, Birmingham Stallions, Memphis Showboats, St Louis Battlehawks, DC Defenders, and the Arlington Renegades, all vying for 4 playoff spots. 2 in each division. 2 in the USFL, 2 in the XFL. Now, the Arlington Renegades and Houston Roughnecks are walking a tightrope at the moment. These wins going into week 7 are crucial. St. Louis, DC, Birmingham, and Michigan can't afford to lose either, and they're all vying that top spot for a nice home field advantage. No game can go unnoticed this week. Another factor, teams are finally coming around and doing things for the fans. $2 hot dogs here, $2 beers here, kids get in free here, fun events after the game there. The league is coming around to try and draw fans into these stadiums to make for an amazing home field environment, which is something that the fans have been begging for literal months. Another thing to look out for, this is the San Antonio Brahmas' second home game of the season. First being when they had a little bit of momentum. They had just beaten the DC Defenders. Now, after they looked like they have seemingly given up, will the home crowd still go there to support them? Also, how does the UFL market its stars? We saw last week Bryce Perkins is number 5 trending on X.com, the Everything app. Everything happens on X. What does the UFL do, or what have they been doing to market stars of their league? And can they be doing better? We answer these questions later in this episode. Stay tuned. It was at this point that I sought out a gambling expert for the UFL. And the expert I found was Justin Paul Sports. Justin Paul Sports, or can I just call you Sports for short? What are you?
Well, my name is Justin, and as you see, my channel is Justin Paul Sports. And I have a career right now in the pump industry, electrical motor pump industry. But I also do a lot of sports betting, a lot of serious sports betting, not just casual $10 here and there. I can do a little more serious than that. And the purpose of my channel is to consult people with that, help them learn to be better, because I do want people to win bets. If you were to look on my my X feed, you'll see that I'm constantly cheering on people to win. I do believe in winning at betting, because losing at betting stinks. So that's kind of the thing that I've started on that. And the thing that appeals to me mostly is football more than anything else. And I know that we've connected because your name is XFL Jim, and I was an advocate of XFL. Ironically, when the XFL was in 2001, I'm originally from the Chicago area, for is kind of answering your question. I got to go to 2 Enforcers games way back when I was working for Penske Auto a long time ago, and Penske was a sponsor, so they hooked us up. So we got to go to 2 games, so that was pretty unique.
What made a man of your means get into the United Football League?
Well, as a kid, growing up, it was my favorite game. I'm a bigger guy. I'm over 6 feet tall. So defensive lineman in high school, clearly not a kick returner. But it was my favorite game to play, my favorite to watch. And as I got older, I just didn't feel that the NFL season was long enough. The USFL, the original one, precedes, like it fizzled out when I was young, the early 80s and stuff like that. But then when in 2001, when Vince McMahon decided to start his own football league, I'm a wrestling fan, and I was watching Monday Night Raw at that time with, that was at the peak of Stone Cold and The Rock, ironically. And they put teams out, and one of them was in Chicago, and I was from Northwest Indiana. So it was just another football game for me to watch. My true love is college football, but for what we're discussing here, what got me into the UFL is just spring football. I don't like Arena League football. I couldn't get into that as much, you know what I mean? So it's just real football that's played outdoors with kind of the basic rules in check. I do like that the UFL mixes it up and decides to, experiment with certain things, like the kickoff. The NFL's adopted it, the sky cam and things along that. But then when XFL faded out after that first year, it's just kind of like the off-season drags for me. I can only take so much basketball and I can only take so much baseball in the early parts of the season because there's no contention. Like first 2 months of baseball, they say you're going to win 60 games and lose 60 games. It's what you do with the other 100, or 100 or so that you, not 100, but 70 or whatever it is that'll make your season. So baseball is kind of a marathon. So then I don't mean to give a long-winded answer here, but 2020, I was thrilled that we had the XFL, and then the pandemic hit. Then prior to that, we had the AAF, and that they had a team here in Arizona. So I went to 2 games there as well. I got to say Younghoe Koo kick for that Atlanta. I can't think of the name of the team, but they wore purple, and we had the hot shots. And the good thing about spring football is that it's very affordable. And I live in a warm weather climate in the desert. So it was really good. And unfortunately that fizzled out, but then the XFL 2020, then that fizzled out with the pandemic. But then we had the USFL and the XFL, and those seasons, that 1 year where they were kind of together, that was great because it went right from the Super Bowl and we were right back in it. And that ran all the way through July. That was my favorite because it's like, great. I mean, it was just really good. So it's just, that's what appeals to me, spring football. I just love the game of football. It's that simple. Just that simple.
As a sports bettor, what ways, good or bad, are the UFL promoting, embracing, doing sports betting content? Good, bad, how are they doing it?
Well, for me personally, when you watch the ESPN broadcasts, ESPN has ownership stakes in the UFL, right? They're a broadcasting partner. And I think ESPN is losing their grip a little bit on the sports market. We're seeing more sports on Amazon, and we saw the NFL on Netflix. And then I think that NBA deal has really kind of hindered what they're able to do. ESPN just canceled their Major League Baseball deal. So I think that they're trying to push that ESPN Bet app. And that's one of the sports books that's along tier with DraftKings and FanDuel, which are grossly popular in the United States where it's legal. Be clear, in some states that's not legal yet. But I do like that at halftime on the ESPN games, it cuts to that girl, I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but she goes over it. And I think that there are a lot of people that watch football, specifically the game of football, for betting. It's very popular in the NFL and college football as well. So I think that brings an audience to the games, and then they start to get a feel and understanding of who these players are, and it can help give you a betting edge if they go pro. Like if you know that Jake Bates can kick a monster kick because you saw what he did last year, right? Or when we see Bryce Perkins get on a team this fall, because it's going to happen. He's shown enough flash and poise to where there's zero question that he's going to end up on a camp somewhere. So as far as the betting concepts I'm for it. I know the people that don't like betting would probably be opposed to it because there's a saturation of advertisements for betting. When you watch football games, you're basically seeing commercials for betting, sexual dysfunction, and food. And you can get overkill. You can get overexposed to the constant repeat of advertisements, right? So I think that might be what turns people off. There are also people who are probably football traditionalists and don't want to hear the commentators say, "Oh, there goes the over," or "Oh, that kick's very important to a lot of people." Wink, wink. Just come out and say it, but just don't make it the entire epicenter of what you're discussing when it comes to football. If that makes sense. So I like it. I don't think that you don't get that really on the Fox broadcast, but you do on ESPN. I think ESPN that has a partnership. They also have more choices of what you can bet on their app as opposed to DraftKings. I believe with player props and totals and stuff like that. So I think that might be why they push that a little more.
As a pure numbers man, can you find it within your heart to be a fan of a team in this league?
Yeah, so a little bit of history about who I am when you asked in the first question. You look behind me, there's Alabama Crimson Tide hat right there. So I'm a huge Alabama fan. That's like my number one. That's more than NFL, more than White Sox and White Sox fan, but more than anything else. But since we don't have a team here where I live in Arizona, I decided to go with the team in Alabama. We don't have any teams out west. So there's no closest ones that we have would probably be San Antonio, but I got like a family history connection in the state of Alabama. So I just decided to roll with that, and that's worked out. The only time I didn't pick an Alabama team was the AAF because we had a team here.
Do you yourself hold any futures in the future market of the UFL?
No futures bets for me, really. If somebody's watching this and they want to discuss gambling, you can follow me on Justin Paul Sport. There's no S on there. It's because it won't fit. And we can talk about betting. And I advise against betting future bets. I don't like parlay bets. And there's a reason for that because you're taking real big shots in the dark. Now, if you're asking me who I would take, like if you gave me $100 and I had to pick one, right now it feels like Michigan. It feels like Michigan's the team to beat. They've got the quarterback play. They've got a solid defense. They're not going to they're going to stick with Bryson. He's just been really, really good. I know that Birmingham beat them earlier in the year, but Mike Nolan got smart and stopped switching the quarterbacks. So if I was to put a futures, I'd put one on Michigan. And if I wanted to really, like if you gave me money and said, hey, do what you want with this and put a little long shot, I low-key like Houston. I liked them week one. They got off to for me, betting is a reaction. It's such a reactionary thing that people don't think, in my opinion, right? They're up in arms after a game. Oh, they played like garbage. So we're just going to go against them next week, no matter what. They don't look at the intricacies of the game, right? So, for example, Houston's a great example of this, and I love betting them this year because they looked so bad that I don't believe the books have caught on how to cap this league, right? So they overreact like the public. I've got a very good winning percentage in UFL this year. I like to bet in Houston because how did the team score? If they get a pick six or a punt return, you're inflating their ability to score points. People automatically assume that points are all offensive. Was it a fluke fumble inside the 5-yard line? They punched it right in. They don't. That's what I like to do is go back and see, well, how did they play? And teams that lose in every game in UFL is on national TV. So you're embarrassed. And players have a sense of pride about it. Make no mistake. So when you do bets like that and they go into next week, that's how I do it. But futures, I think Houston, if they get in there, I think they could. If Birmingham's out, I'm just going to kind of be like, man, I kind of hope they do it because it would be a true football story of starting out really roughshod and working your tail off and coming back and finishing strong. So I think that'd be fantastic. So Michigan would be the favorite and Houston would be my lotto ticket.
What are your thoughts on year 2 so far of the UFL and the league as a whole?
So I was thinking about this, and there's a couple things that I think the UFL, I think they do some things really good, and there's some things that I think they could change. I'm glad that they've got a players union. I'm glad that they didn't move any franchises this year. Yeah, I like that. And then I also like that they've got solid television network. You don't have to search the back doors of the internet to get a feed. It's on Fox, ESPN, or ABC, or FS1, and those are all channels that everybody can get on a basic package or an antenna. So the reach is there. I think that a couple things that I think that they should be negotiating. I know that people are so big, and maybe I ask you this: do you like after a touchdown that they have to run a play, or should they have the choice for the extra point? I'm curious on that.
You're asking me, and
asking
to the
you
name
personally.
XFL Jim.
Yes.
I love the PATs in the UFL.
Okay.
I love it so much. One of my favorite parts
Okay.
of the league.
So I'll meet you halfway. I like that you can go for 3. I think that's innovative. But I think that you should be able to just kick a traditional extra point as well. I think that you should be able to do that because that's the origins of college. Like the game was made in college at Rutgers, and extra points I think that would draw more fans to the game with that traditional kick after touchdown. But I think that you should have the option to go for 2 like normal and go for 3. I like going for 3. That's my off take on it, because you went all the way down the field and scored already. Why should you have to do that? That's my take. If you were to say, what do I think they can improve? I think you should have the option to kick the extra point. That extra point, ironically, when you asked me about the betting, that's why I think that they can't cap this league, because they're thinking in traditional numbers. And what's the percentage of that team going for 1 or 2? They're not thinking like this. So when I see a team I liked last week, I liked San Antonio getting 10. Give me 10 in this league all day long. They did not cover because they played poorly, but it means that a team has to score 2 touchdowns, and it just didn't feel like, or a touchdown and a field goal. But you never know. I think that those are momentum killers when you go for it and go for 1 and you get stuffed. I really do. But I think that they should bring that. If you're talking about league changes, I also think that. I think one thing that would save, because I don't think the league's in disarray. I don't think it's going to collapse. I think it's financially viable. But what might be unpopular, and you were to ask me, I think that they should find private ownership. Now, the USFL did this in the 80s, and teams had, just like the NFL, they had owners. I'm certain that if you were to go around the league, and the way that more people are wealthier than ever, if you got them to invest in this and buy these teams instead of having because if you run it by the league, it's expensive. So if you got private investment firms or businesses, for sure, that can't get into professional football and can't get into the NBA, and they want to buy a sports league and get into sports, you can buy these teams at a low price right now and invest in your team. And that brings root, because then let's say you own a team and I own a team. Well, I can invest in my community. If I own the Stallions, right, I'm going to invest in Birmingham. I've got roots in Birmingham. I'm going to go out there and market my team. I think the UFL is kind of generic with their branding. So that would help grow. I'm also like to see them come out west eventually, but I understand why they are kind of regional, because traveling expenses and things along that sort. And the last thing is, some of these teams might need to figure out where they're playing in stadiums. I know DC plays in a smaller soccer stadium, so it helps it look full. I think the Liberty Bowl is fine for the Memphis team, and I think Birmingham, right there with Legion Field, is fine. But St. Louis sells. That's great. San Antonio sells pretty well. That's good too. But Arlington, they got to go somewhere smaller, I think, until people start going. They just don't go over there. Same thing with Houston. Man, that game last week, it looked bad. Houston is the 4th biggest city in the United States. there's no reason that people shouldn't go out there and watch a football game. It's not scalding hot in Houston yet. You know, the Rockets are out. We're in the early season for the Astros. I mean, what's keeping you from going? Houston doesn't have a hockey team from what I understand, so there's just the Dallas Stars. So they've got to do something to get people to go. I would do this. I would be radical if I owned the league. I'd say, all right, last games of the season, the last home game, they're free. I'd bite the bullet and get out the vote. And it's like getting everybody in there. And I think if you get them in there, they're more likely to have a good experience and say, if you come to this game, we'll sell you season tickets for 20% off for next season, right? And then they go and they can afford to take their kids and go outside and stuff like that, because they've got to do something to get people to come. It's hurting them, but it's still in the infancy of its league. If you get them to the ballpark, and you know they're going to spend money. I think that the UFL has a unique opportunity too. Like if they reach out to kids and get high schoolers that play football, they're in off season. Just go out and say, Coach, bring your team. Just bring them. You know, we'll cover the cost for you to get in. You know, and you start getting those roots of those young people in there. Eventually they'll rise up. I hope the UFL has bigger ambitions than just being a practice field league. I do. I would like to see them want to be themselves and get players. If they're really smart, what they do is if you aren't drafted, right? If they want to work out a partnership with the NFL, then they need to bump the NFL draft up. And if you don't get drafted, then there's a UFL draft. Like there's a great player. Well, I'm biased by saying, but like Isaiah Bond, who decided to leave Alabama. That didn't work for him. So you kind of get what you deserve, Isaiah. But he was at Texas, didn't go drafted. Nobody's picked him up and gave him a free agent option. He should go play ball. You know, if you're a quarterback and you didn't get drafted, go play ball in these leagues, you know. But I think that they can, if they eventually start bringing in more revenue and start paying them, you can get players. I'm trying to be very mindful of what I say. They understand that it's going to be tougher for them to get on an NFL roster, but you could still play for this team and build a community and build something there and get paid well. So those are the kind of things, you know, that I think the UFL can fix. I'd really like to see them somehow do something with Canadian football, but I'm not the biggest fan of some of those CFL rules, and I don't see CFL budging, but it would be fun. It'd be fun for sure.
If you could say one thing to the top brass, the Danny Garcias, the Moose Johnstons, the Redbird Capitals, what would you say to them?
Aggressive advertising in your home cities. Aggressive. Get out there and upsell it. I don't know their finances, get a celebrity involved. Like, I know The Rock is the guy that owns it, but there's got to be more. Like, you had Tom Brady out there was it last season he was out there, the championship game? Mm-hmm. You've got to get football celebrities out there. You know, they're retired football players. Get them involved. I mean, you have to, like, especially Memphis. There's no football there, right? These cities that don't have it, pound it. That would be the one thing I would say to them. Pound aggressively. Get people to come. It makes a difference, big difference.
As a gambling man, for our sports bettors out there, do you have any picks for Week 7 of the UFL?
Well, looking at the lines here, I like the Sunday night game is St. Louis at Memphis. Memphis is getting 4.5 at home. And I'll tell you, like, St. Louis hasn't scored a touchdown in 2 games now. They've just been putrid running the ball, or moving the ball. They forgot about Hakeem Butler. They just released Denzel Mims, right? So it's either going to be a game where St. Louis gets it together and gets it serious, but I like the 4.5 there, for sure. But I think if I were to go to lock, the one I'm going to give you, that's just one I like it to run up. I don't care. These are free. I give my picks away, so it's not sweet. But Michigan -3 at Arlington. So I don't believe in Luis Perez. I never have. I think that I don't know how Bob Stoops can stay with him. He looks extremely average. In the pocket, you can rattle him. He makes poor decisions with getting rid of the football. I mean, he doesn't feel like a quick decision maker. I know it's kind of crazy to say about him because I know he had a great season last year, but when I saw the halftime of the Defenders game, at halftime the coach said, he's gonna give you one. He's just good. Like, he said it with such confidence. And the first drive, he throws a pick. They called it back because he didn't reestablish himself. But I think that Arlington has won games, but they didn't win because of him. So I would bet against Arlington. I would take those 3 points. I'll lay those 3 points for Michigan to go in there. And I don't think Michigan's going to be overconfident. I think that they know that they're on a championship run here. This is a big game. So Michigan -3. I love it. That would be the one with my most confidence out of the 4 games this week.
And to take a look from the numbers for a second, to look solely within your heart, within your gut, within your loins, who do you have as the champion of the league come next month?
As much as I love Birmingham, I think that their quarterback situation is going to stop them finally. Everybody loves Case Cookus, but that's just because he played in the league. They're on their 5th quarterback. I think if Magoo comes back, if he can come back with 2 games left to go and play well, I'll stick with Birmingham. But I can't do that until he comes back. So it's like I said, I like either Michigan or Houston. Man, it's just one of those two. But I've got to go with Bryce Perkins right now. If I had to flip a coin, I wouldn't say flip a coin, but it's like if I had to pick one, it would be Michigan. So those are the 3 I think are in the mix. I'm out on St. Louis. So and they've got really, like, Hakeem Butler is an animal, and Saylor's a great running back. And I like Max Duggan, but he just doesn't have enough snaps. He's just out of snaps. So I think Michigan will probably win the whole thing this year.
Thank you for coming on, Justin Paul Sports. What do you have going on? Where can the people find you to get their sports betting knowledge on?
Well, first of all, I want to say it's nice to meet you. Thanks for having me on. I do recall, by the way, that there was a minor league football team that ran briefly in the fall, and they had a team in Omaha.
The old UFL.
Is that what it was? Was it also called the UFL?
I believe it was the old UFL in 2010.
Yeah, they had a team in Omaha in your neck of the woods there.
Yes, they did. The Nighthawks.
Yep, and I think that's a elite city for if UFL were to expand. Go to Omaha, go to Oklahoma City. Come to Phoenix, man. I'll go to the games. All right. But my YouTube channel is Justin Paul Sports with an S. It's every day I post shorts of my gambling picks. Every day. Every Sunday I do a live stream. Right now it's about the UFL. I'll do a stream next Wednesday or Thursday when the NFL schedule comes out because people like to discuss the NFL. But it's Justin Paul Sports on X. It's at Justin Paul Sport, no S, at Justin Paul Sport. Those are the only social media outlets I have. Just if you add me, subscribe. I'm trying to get the 1,000 subscribers. I'm only at 112 right now, I believe it is. But if you go in, let the video play for the full. They're only 15 seconds. That's what I always say. They're only 15 seconds. Just let it play one time. Give me a like and please sub. Tell a friend. And on X, if you want to follow me, I put this pics on my X site as well. Well, that sounds really, really to say. But my picks are up there every day, and leave a comment. I don't care if it's good or bad. Just engage and interact and tell me that you hate my picks. Tell me you love my picks. I won't delete you. Just don't be clearly like vulgar. But if you want to tease me for a missed pick, you can go right ahead. But make sure you show up when I'm right, and just show up when I'm right more than I'm wrong. I promise you that.
Well, UFL Jim, what are your thoughts about Game 1 of Week 7 of the United Football League?
Game number 1, of course, we have the DC Defenders taking on the San Antonio Brahmas. What a matchup that we have. The Brahmas' only win of the season. Remember,
came against the DC Defenders, who at the time were undefeated, top of the league, and the Brahmas looked to seem to have momentum after that and then have gone on a straight collapse ever since. How will the crowd look in this game is very, very interesting, something to keep an eye on. It's Friday night, typically during this season, a bad night for crowds, and also San Antonio, while the fans are motivated and involved with the team, the San Antonio Brahmas have kind of let the fans down, and I don't know, the way this team seems to have given up on the season, I don't know how many people show up and show out for the Brahmas in this moment. DC is going to be looking to exercise some demons here. They lost this game last time they played in DC, and DC's coming off their worst loss of the season to the Michigan Panthers. They got clowned in that game. So they're going to want to run the ball. They're going to want to get Abram Smith involved and everything going offensively. They want to just put points on points on points and on points. Now, maybe mentally that messes them up. Maybe that gets them kind of off their rhythm a little bit because they've been a very pass-happy offense. Defensively, they are going to want to feast. And I think their defensive front, like most defensive fronts on this season, will just demolish the Brahmas in this matchup. I don't know who the Brahmas are going to play at quarterback. They'll probably play multiple, and I don't know if any of them will look good. This is just a situation where, does the team want it? I don't know. I really don't know with the Brahmas. DC, they're going to want to just kill them. They're going to want to obliterate them. And there are moments we've seen in sports, specifically like college football, where you feel like a team needs to dominate and a team needs to obliterate, and that's in their head, and that kind of messes them up. So you could see that here. You could see maybe some sloppiness from DC going into it, which would be very typical for a Friday night game in this league this season. But I think DC will just run the hell out of the ball. They'll be able to put up points, and I don't know what the Brahmas can do, like in the trenches, to stop them on either side of the ball, if I'm being honest. I just don't see it happening. And I see DC kind of being comfortable here, bounce back spot, and I don't know. I don't want to get in their path right now. In game 2? Yes. Game number 2, the Michigan Panthers versus the Arlington Renegades. The Panthers go through the XFL gauntlet, so to speak. They went from the Battlehawks to the Defenders to the Renegades. But Bryce Perkins last week was the star of the league. MVP performance, obliterated DC, but now he goes up against the number 1 defense. Arlington has done a very good job of containing quarterbacks in a lot of their games. Now, I think obviously Michigan wants to run the ball. They want to run it a lot. Arlington is good at stopping the run. Bryce Perkins, will he remain as slippery as ever? Very likely, very possible, but I think he's going to have to do it with his arm, and he has been ultra efficient, so I think we get to see more of a passing presence from Perkins in this game, and that's going to be something very exciting to watch. And many people are saying Perez is washed. People are out on Luis Perez. He's coming off of his worst performance of the season. I think we see a nice bounce back opportunity. Michigan has allowed some yards and some points in the passing attack. The only thing keeping me away from the Renegades is the fact that the Panthers are so good at taking away half of your offense. And with Kalen Ballage out for the Renegades, they're going to be hampered even more in the run game. They're going to rely solely on their pass attack. And with the pressure this puts on Perez, I feel like you might see 1, 2, potentially even 3 bad throws that could very well be picked off. I think he kind of buckles down, is very quick with the ball, and very decisive, and I think he bounces back, and we have a very fun quarterback matchup in this one. The defensive battle that we're going to see between the Panthers and the Renegades is going to be very, very fun to watch. I am so excited. I'm interested to see how Arlington will be able to run the ball without Ballage. I'm wondering how much they even try to run. Michigan, it's all Perkins, and it's going to be fun watching him become like the pure passer this game that he's going to have to be to take on the Renegades. That's something to be very excited about. I'm so hyped for this game. This and one other one, I'm going to call this one Game of the Week. Game of the Week Saturday, Michigan versus Arlington. How about number 3? we enter to game number 3, which may be the game with the most significant playoff implications as the Houston Roughnecks take on the Birmingham Stallions. Now, the Roughnecks have some juice right now. They're feeling themselves, but also they have played the Showboats and the Brahmas. Those are their last 2 wins. The Stallions, though, banged up, especially at the quarterback position. Matt Corral out for the season. Magoo out multiple weeks. Case Cook is banged up. They are on their potentially 5th and 6th quarterback. I think Cookus will play, but he's playing banged up. To be fair, though, for those of you who know, a banged up Case Cookus is where sometimes he feels in the zone and he can make some really cool, fun things happen. But Houston's defense over the last few weeks has been an underrated factor, and I think this game will be another potential game of the week right now. It feels where we're at in the season right now, that every game has the potential to be a game of the week, and that just makes me cream my pants. This is a fun quarterback battle, especially if Cookus plays the full game. McClendon has been very fun, very electric. People aren't talking about him as much because Bryce Perkins is stealing the show, which is fair, but Jalen McClendon's been a very fun story in the emergence of the Houston Roughnecks, and Case Cookus is always just electric. He's a maverick. He does not care. He just doesn't. I'm also very interested to see how the defenses match up, with the Stallions' pass defense being one of the worst in the leagues and the Houston Roughnecks' rush defense being one of the worst in the league. So I think we get some good running back play from Birmingham. I think we get some good quarterback scrambles, especially if Cookus is in. And then I want to see Jalen McClendon throwing the ball. We know he's a runner. We know he's a pretty good passer, but I want to see what he can do, because the Stallions, like, their rush defense versus pass defense is night and day. And I am excited to see how each quarterback kind of navigates what's in front of them. This is a very fun game, a very analytical game, and a very erotic game, so to speak, with all the playoff implications and whatnot going on. Stay tuned. Tune in. The Sunday morning matchups the past 3 weeks have been, I believe, the best games of each weekend. So jot this one down. If you're only going to watch one game, which you shouldn't, you should watch every game, but make sure you tune into this one. And finally, game number 4. Of course, the beautiful matchup of Sunday afternoon. The St. Louis Battlehawks, the Memphis Showboats. Max Duggan, Dresser, Win. So much going on in this game to talk about. Memphis, they have been so close. So close. Yes, they are only a 1-win team, but they have put the effort in every single game. This team does not have quit in them. They are in it, and they are just destined, I feel, to lose these close games. They're stringing their fans along and just strangling the life and hope out of them every single week, it feels like, because they play good. Like last week, they outplayed Houston, but turnovers were just the big difference. I want to see definitively with my eyeballs Memphis do something and close out a game. The Battlehawks, their defense needs to carry them, honestly. Duggan has marginally improved each week, but not really in the passing category. Hakeem Butler, again, has been a factor. He's been targeted more in his first week and then second week, but the yardage wasn't there super last week. But again, that was against a Renegades defense who I think is the best defense in the league. Can they do a little bit better? Can they do a little bit better here against Memphis? A team who has a good defense, but not up to the level of what the Renegades have shown, especially when it comes to getting to the passer. And I'm also interested to see how the Memphis crowd looks with all these promotions and boosts going on. Does the Memphis crowd sort of show up for cheap tickets, cheap beer, cheap food, awesome stuff for the family and kids? Because last week that was the big talking point with the Houston game, and Memphis hasn't done much better this season than the Roughnecks, so I'm excited to see how that looks. This has the potential to be the most fun game of the week. Battlehawks have been an instant classic after instant classic for the last few weeks now, and I think with an emerging Max Duggan and Dresser Wynn playing a little bit cleaner, but still very, very good. We could see a very fun game out of this one. I'm expecting both running backs to get a lot of play. I'm expecting both defenses to kind of show out. And the thing is, I just feel in my heart that Memphis loses another close one. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why, Jim. It's because of the special teams prowess and kicking ability of Rodrigo Blankenship. It just lends me faith in the Battlehawks when you have someone like that can clutch out moments and score you points when you need them in a close, tight game. I feel like that gives them an edge over a lot of teams. And that'll give me to my picks for you, Jim. I'm going to go with the Defenders, Renegades, Stallions, and Battlehawks. Let me give you a quick reason why. The Defenders, it's against the Brahmas. It's against the Brahmas, okay? The Renegades, I just feel like Perez isn't going to have a game like he had last week, 2 weeks in a row. And this is a situation where I like to buy low, sell high. I'm selling Michigan right now. They were on fraud watch for a while. They dominate against the Defenders. They're a legit team. They're the number one team. Everyone's sucking their nuts. Everyone's got Bryce Perkins in their mouth. Deservedly so. He's amazing. He's beautiful. He's a majestic man. But people are forgetting about the Arlington Renegades. I also think the Renegades finally close out a game here, which they have not done all season. The Stallions, I just feel like it's the pedigree argument for the Birmingham Stallions. They just have that chutzpah in them, and I don't care how good another USFL team looks. There's a mental block when teams play Birmingham. That is just, it's there. We saw it with Michigan earlier in the season. We see it with teams all the time. I feel like Birmingham's going to take it. And then the Battlehawks, I just feel like this is more of a Memphis thing of just crushing, soul-breaking defeats versus St. Louis being kind of clutch this year, honestly. So once again, Defenders, Renegades, Stallions, Battlehawks, those are my picks. Thank you, UFL Jim, very much. Any final thoughts, parting thoughts you wish to expunge on the people going into week 7? Yes, my thoughts on the league for this week. Well, it's a huge playoff week. We have so many awesome matchups here, and I think the playoff picture going into the season this deep is a testament to how strong the UFL is in year 2. This time last year, the Stallions already had a playoff spot locked up, and the Michigan Panthers weren't far behind them. So the parity that we have established, sans the San Antonio Brahmas, is something to behold. I'm also loving what the league is doing. Finally, actually listening to people, doing promotions, trying to get people in the stands, and offering discounts. Because take it from me. I think what the league should do is offer free, cheap, value packages, season ticket holders, anyone in the community, just to get people in because it makes a better product on TV. I don't care. People are just like, oh, it's a TV league, it's a TV product. But fans in the stands makes for a better TV product. And then once you kind of build that up, you can start charging a little bit more here and there. And also, you charge, let kids get in free. You bring a family of 4, family of 3 in, you're still charging $20 a ticket for the parents. They're gonna buy concessions. They're gonna buy more stuff when they're there. It's just gonna happen, and it's good for the league. It is. I'm also excited for just very interesting matchups. People don't think of the Showboats versus the Battlehawks or the Renegades versus the Panthers. Those are not matchups you think about very often, but these are very exciting matchups that I think every game, maybe aside from the Brahmas, I don't know what Brahmas show up, but I think every game has the potential to be absolutely electric. And it's also kind of a new versus old battle. You have guys like Luis Perez versus Bryce Perkins. Perez has been a spring guy forever. Perkins emerged in the USFL and then kind of has been hidden in the shadows by Mike Nolan for some reason. You have Jordan Ta'amu versus Kellen Mond or whoever, Kevin Hogan or whoever the Brahmas trot out there. You have new versus new in Duggan versus Dresser win, but also you have guys like Case Cookus, who have been around since 2022, playing against like Jalen McClendon, who, yes, he was in there in 2023 on the Vipers in the XFL, but he hasn't really been like a face. This is really his like coming out party. So there's a lot of fun aspects like that. And then I hope for pure chaos, extremely exciting games. Give me a pick six here and there. Give me a special teams touchdown. Give me a coach's challenge, and give me some dumb, mic'd up moments from CJ Johnson. That's all I kind of hope for in a week from the UFL. And this is where we find ourselves. Playoff picture, excitement, hype, a league bursting at the seams with stars, with passion, with power. UFL is in a very precarious place at this moment in time. And I wonder if it can keep its own momentum going or be crushed under the weight of what's to come. I'm Documentarian Jim. This has been UFL Week 7 Preview. Thank you.